Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Thursday, June 9th. I'm Khalil Cato with the details. The 27 fourth formers from secondary schools across SVG were recognized today for their outstanding performance at the annual George Phillips Excellence Awards ceremony hosted by the Rotary Club of St. Vincent. Addressing the ceremony at the Methodist Church Hall, Minister of Education Curtis King told the students not to let persons speak negatively of their lives and prevent them from achieving a good education.
That once you know what you want, it isn't difficult to achieve it. You put your mind to get in there. And let no one whatsoever tell you that you can't. Work towards achieving your goals. It is very important for us very early in our lives to determine what we want to do in this life. And once you set your goals early, I know you will work towards achieving them. Because believe me, there's nothing impossible. And you all know it. We always say, don't use the word can't.
Minister King congratulated the students on their accomplishments, noting that the award should be seen as the beginning of greater achievements to come.
A large number of the recipients of this award, they have gone on to distinguish themselves, not only here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the level of, the CSEC examination, or the CAPE examination, or even at the University of the West Indies. Those of you who have been following, let's see that just recently we had an outstanding young male, Porter, who graduated from Harvard University. He was a recipient of this award, and he went on, and some of the other students. So I'm saying they have gone on to distinguish themselves. It means, therefore, that those of you who are receiving this award today, this is not the end. This is just the beginning. And I hope you would take it in that light, and that you would work hard, and that, who knows, shortly we would be able, while speaking here, to refer to your own achievement at that higher level, because we know you can do it.
Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, Professor Justin Robinson, is challenging the students in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to seek out solutions to global warming. Delivering the feature address at the George Phillips Excellence Awards ceremony today, Professor Robinson says natural disasters brought on by climate change are making the world an unlivable place. Professor Robinson describes the climate crisis as the most important topic for the young generation and urges students to put pressure on leaders to take action now and contain global warming. He says finding a solution to the climate crisis is urgent, as Caribbean islands are on the front line of the climate change, even though they do not have high carbon emissions.
The world is becoming unlivable in a gradual way, in a way that you are not noticing it, but it's going to get to a point where it's going to be sudden. So it's therefore urgent that your generation own this crisis. You're going to have to live with it. All of us up here are going to be dead and gone. It's your world. So you need to pressure your leaders to take action, because a lot of the changes have to be made now. And you need to be the change and be a catalyst for action if we are to avert this catastrophe. So one takeaway, 1.5 to stay alive. The world has to organize itself to change the very way we live so that we can contain global warming to within 1.5 degrees Celsius. And it's especially important for us because we are not generating most of this warming. We are too small. But like in so many cases, we are on the front line because we live by the sea.
Professor Robinson also spoke to the students of the epidemic of non-communicable diseases, or NCDs, affecting the region. He notes that NCD numbers are on the rise, and he encourages the students to take charge of their health.
Our lifestyles have led to this epidemic of chronic non-communicable diseases. And a lot of these are what people call premature deaths. A person growing up now, living the lifestyle that we have taken for granted, even with all the modern medicine, cannot really look forward to a ripe old age, because a lot of persons are dying from these chronic non-communicable diseases. And we know what they are: diabetes, high blood pressure related. And what are the main causes of these? One of the interesting things is a lot of these are preventable. Okay, people are dying, or their quality of life is seriously undermined at early ages by these NCDs. So again, this is a major challenge that you have to deal with.
Government has granted an extension to the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development for the repair of secondary roads across the island. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves explained that a meeting was convened with fund representatives and contractors on Tuesday to discuss the progress of the road repairs. He says issues arose with the lack of progress contractors were making, highlighting the roads in Belair, Carrier, Enhams and Otley Hall, where work had either not commenced or had been left incomplete. He also says before this week's meeting, he had written to the Kuwait Fund in September of 2021 asking that the work be expedited, and in April he wrote again requesting that the contract be terminated. PM Gonsalves says a new timeline for the work to be completed has been set for March 2023.
Some progress was made, but there are challenges, different reasons. I don't want to go into all of them now. And they slowed down. And the Kuwaiti Fund asked us if we can proceed and with some new timelines and with certain commitments given by the contractor, the contracting firm. The people from the Kuwaiti Fund were very serious with what was happening. And we have an extension. We gave them an extension of 3 months to finish the work. But they have about $6.7 million worth of work remaining. US dollars. And there was no way they could have finished that work by the end of December. So we gave them a further 3 months extension to the end of March next year. But at no additional cost to us.
He further explains that the delays with the contracting firm has prevented government from rolling out phase 2 of the road repair program, which is being funded by the OPEC Fund for Economic Development.
By this time now, they should have been starting work on several items. Well, not just starting, going on properly with some items on the second phase, which is financed by OFID, with the same contractors. The OPEC Fund for International Development. It's about $90 million in all, Johnny P., between both the Kuwaiti Fund and OFID.
Okay.
And the apart from the slow movement with the roads, those roads, with this external contractor, they're holding us up where we want to engage both the Kuwaiti Fund and OFID in other developmental projects.
And Prime Minister Gonsalves says global supply chain issues are hindering the progress of government's house repair program. Countries around the world are reporting issues with the importation of food, supplies, and other commodities due to the COVID-19 pandemic and resulting labor shortages. PM Gonsalves says these supply chain issues are making it difficult for government to source lumber and complete house and roofing repairs.
We don't have any plywood in the country, and we can't get, the quality plywood now. The 5/8 ply or the groove ply. A lot of the 1x2s, the lumber, not available. Even because we buy local and we buy from Tankwell in Jamaica, which is one of the biggest companies in the whole region supply because of what they call the supply chain problems now. Because we are just buying about over $2 million worth US and off an order while we're buying here locally. And we get good credit terms from Tanquil. So there's some items we just can't get.
PM Gonzalez says while government recognizes there are a number of houses across the island also in need of repair, those which were extensively damaged during the volcanic eruption and the passage of Hurricane Elsa are being given first priority at this time.
But my instructions are straightforward. We have to do this thing in phases. We do those which we have assessed as directly connected to the volcano or Hurricane Elsa, because you don't want it to be a state repair program for every single house. We need something to be done on it. Otherwise, that's almost a wall without end.
Several of the vendors who lost their stalls and produce in the cleanup exercise that took place on the morning of June 6th at Arnesvale in the vicinity of Massey Supermarket continue to cry out to the government for help. The vendors shared their plight at a news conference yesterday hosted by lawyer K. Bacchus Batiste. Kentish Bowens, who has been operating his vending business in the Arnesvale area for more than 6 years, said he lost over $5,000 in produce.
Me say, watch your mouth and Massey. To be honest, me almost dropped down because me could have never believed that, because me know well the appeal was pending and we was waiting on answers. So me there and me very real struck. Sunday night me not sleep because Monday night me not sleep because me pray for Monday morning come for really good see with me own I really take place. And when me reach out there and me see things me couldn't even believe. And as I'm a father of 3 and my children are not here, and I just have to send money for them in Anguilla. I have 3 children going to secondary school in Anguilla and I just have to support them. And I lost everything. Friday, we put out stock, our money Friday, Saturday. We put out our money, we buy bottles and we buy all the provision and fruits and anything then. When we reach there and me say, boy, nothing at all. I say, boy, me can't believe nothing. And I also me still can't even believe, because even at now, even if you go with tobacco coconut water in your hand and you ask a customer if they want, the security running you like a dog. You know? Now can we try if we do for make a living? I mean, what are we supposed to do now as young people, as family men who have bills to pay and children to support? What are we supposed to do? What is the next step?
Lamenting that they have no other stream of income, the affected vendors are asking what is the next step? Where do they go from here?
I never know that they would have just come like that and break everything down. They never come and give me no warning at all. So when I come, I see everything on the ground. I never get to like grip my pieces of things, then because everything done gone in the transport. So I really want help and I want to know how I can get a little help. Because I'm a little youth and I don't want to do badness. I don't want to make no trouble. I don't want to sell drugs. I just want to make an honest dollar.
To be honest, it's not fair what they did to us, because we was all sleeping and if no one was to see at the time, and wake up and everybody wake up and we lose. We come in the morning and see nothing at all, nothing. Alright, that fair to we, not because they want the place clean up ourselves. Talk to me and let we know, like, so we could have saved stuff for them.
All my stuff gone, everything. I go and ask one of the police again, can I have my stuff for them please? What? So I want to know we next step.
Originally from Fitzhughes, but I living in Barley because my house was damaged during the last affair. And this is very heartbreaking. Very, very heartbreaking. You know, so we want to know what is the next step. We don't want to go to, me personally, one of the main reasons why I don't want to go back down and leave, what the only thing they don't do right now is go bush. And me don't come out of that too much years and me don't want to go back there, go plant no more weed. Now even for clean. So me out of that, me do my business, and when me supposed, and everything gone now. Everything gone, my house gone, me can't go home because they never give me a nail. As much to say, well boy, go back and start to the house with. So that me could go back home and think, not a thing. So then I want to know how am I supposed to at least say, well, go home and start back to do some work on my house and support my children them that are in the next country.
Plans by the Carnival Development Corporation, the CDC, to host a fully vaccinated Vincy Mass for 2022 have been abandoned on the advice of local health authorities. Word of this comes from Esworth Roberts, Marketing and Development Officer with the CDC, while speaking on VC3's Roundtable Talk on Wednesday. Back in February, when the announcement came that Vincy Mass will be staged after a 2-year break due to the global COVID-19 pandemic, the requirement for staging Carnival was determined to be 70% vaccination of the country. Since that time, active COVID-19 cases have declined into single-digit numbers, but have risen within recent weeks. As of June 8th, information from the Ministry of Health states that there are 184 active cases with 3 persons hospitalized. Roberts says the CDC is not promoting fully vaccinated events and added that the decision was made on the guidance of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Not promoting vaccinated events because based on the protocol as established by the Ministry of Health COVID-19 Task Force, we are guided by that, and there's no need or it wasn't encouraged that we do vaccinated events. So the CDC will not be encouraging the promoters to do vaccinated events. If a promoter chooses to then on their own, then so be it. But as far as I know, I haven't heard of any vaccinated event being advertised for Vincy Mass 2022.
Roberts says they will, however, ensure that COVID-19 protocols are adhered to at all CDC events, and private promoters are being encouraged to do the same.
We having the activities and the events, unless there's a drastic change in terms of the numbers going up really high. But what we would be doing from a CDC level, and what we expect promoters to be doing as well, because as you would know, in our carnival it's not just CDC that organizes events. We have a number of promoters, and we have rural carnival committees that would have hosted a number of events so far. And we still have some more activities to be held under the rural carnival calendar. But we, from the CDC level, will be having in place sanitization at events, etc. And we would still be encouraging persons to take certain safety measures into account. And we'll be hoping that the promoters likewise, the Ministry of Health would advise the promoters to do likewise, and still not just for persons to throw their hands in the air and to think that and to act as though COVID has disappeared. We still expect a certain level of responsibility to be displayed by the persons who are organizing events.
With less than a month until Vincy Mass 2022 is staged, the CDC is anticipating there will be a high number of visitors from the region. There are 15 mass bands registered for this year's street festival, with most of the major events scheduled to take place in the week leading up to July 5th. CDC Marketing Manager Esworth Roberts says although Carnival has been scaled down this year due to the pandemic, the response from persons in the region has been good so far.
In terms of the arrival and so on, in terms of persons coming to Vincy Mass from the Caribbean, I am anticipating a lot of visitors coming in. I've been told that flights into St. Vincent, have been sold out and so forth.
Roberts also says there is a challenge with limited flights being made available by regional airlines, adding this is a hindrance for persons interested in attending Vincy Carnival.
I know we have a little challenge, however, in terms of the regional travel. With the absence of LIAT, it has proven to be a bit challenging for persons from within the region to get to other islands and so forth. So that is an issue that I'm hoping that come next year when we will have a full year to plan and promote Carnival, and we will be back to 100% of everything that we normally do for Carnival. I'm hoping that problem will be alleviated by then. But while we have the challenges, I'm still anticipating massive numbers coming to St. Vincent for Vincy Mass 2022.
Police have arrested and charged Kenneth Davis, a 49-year-old mechanic of Connery, with the offense of murder. The accused allegedly caused the death of Douglas Cadogan, a 69-year-old farmer of Trumuca, by beating him about the body with a cutlass and kicking him in his head. The incident occurred at Byra at about 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday, March 16, 2022. Davis will appear before the Serious Offences Court for arraignment. He was remanded into custody at Her Majesty's prisons. And police say as part of ongoing efforts to rid the streets of St. Vincent and the Grenadines of illicit drugs, illegal firearms and ammunition, the Rapid Response Unit, the RRU, conducted several operations between June 3rd and June 7th in different hotspots throughout the country. These operations resulted in the arrests of 5 men and the seizure of 3 firearms, 1 imitation firearm, and 19 rounds of ammunition. These men were later charged with the following offenses. Tevin Miller, 18-year-old mechanic of Belair, with having in his possession 1 homemade firearm without a license issued under the Firearms Act at Belair at about 4:45 a.m. on Friday, June 3rd. Carl Quao, a 21-year-old laborer of Chauncey, and Anil Graves, a 22-year-old delivery clerk of Belair, were jointly charged with having in their possession 1 homemade firearm without a license under the Firearms Act at Belair at about 4:15 a.m. on Friday, June 3rd. On Monday, June 6th, the accused men appeared before the Serious Offences Court where they answered to the charges. Miller pleaded guilty and was remanded into custody. The matter was adjourned to Monday, June 13th for sentencing. Quao and Graves pleaded not guilty. Bail was granted to both defendants in the sum of $10,000 with 1 surety. That should be 1 surety each. Quao was ordered to report to the Kittels police station every Monday and Friday between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., while Graves was ordered to report to the Caliaqua police station on the same days and at the same times. In addition, Graves was ordered to surrender all travel documents, and stop notices were placed at all ports of entry and exit. The defendants will reappear in court on Monday, June 13th. Police say the operation continued on Tuesday, June 7th, and a search warrant was executed at a house in Redemption Sharps where 1 Tech 9 9mm pistol and 19 rounds of 9mm ammunition were recovered. No arrest has been made in relation to this incident as yet.